I have to tell you that in terms of, it'd be really interesting to experiment, like, with, in terms of where you guys feel that you're pushing something too, or wanting to explore, you know, in terms of the obsessively researching. You know, if there's a sonic idea that you've wanted to obsessively in some way explore, or something that you've sat there and gone, you know, like, I really wanna just try and do blah, how would I do that?
Is that a free question?
But that could be interesting as well, like, how could you use my process? And
Sure,
how would you
yeah.
use my process?
Mhm.
And if you did use my process, what would happen?
Right.
My head's never really exploded, so I think it's fairly safe, you know, like, I don't think anybody will hurt themselves. But that would be, it could be a really, you know, that could be something as well. I'm very open, you know, to trying. I think that it's a good idea to focus it in some way. I love the idea of the layering. I think that the layering, this sort of exploration of, like, how you do that either sonically through recording and then putting it back. Your idea, I think also, you know, if we can sort of pull that all together in some way.
Something someone said to me once that I have kind of really latched onto is, what is the sound that you found so special that only you've ever heard, that only you've ever kind of discovered? What is a sound that you want to, like, make a bed for and put into the world? And I think that would be a really interesting question for each person here, just because
Wow.
that it's so different per instrument. I mean, I was like, I don't know if you saw me, but I was standing here doing this with David for like a really long time, just because, I mean, it's, here, just pull that up to your ear. Right, and it sounds like nothing if I'm just doing this, right? And I can show you later, but I mean, it's magical.
Let's see from here.
If you just hold this up to your ear.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so things like that.
That's a great question.
Right. And I think that applies to this larger process as well. And I would be very curious what everyone would have to say about that.
At the same time, I think, like, a lot of us do that all the time. I mean,
For
I'm
sure.
always looking for, like, things that only I do on the instrument, and then, like, pushing those really far. So I don't necessarily know how that would lead to anything different than what we've
We're
already
already doing. Yeah.
what we're doing. I mean, unless we were to focus specifically on one thing, for example.
Right.
Which would definitely create a particular combination.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, I guess when she kind of just said about the obsession of it, because there are there are sounds that I make, and I'm sure that you make, and they're like, oh, that's a cool sound, I can use that sound later, but there are certain sounds that really, like, fascinate me. I don't know if that's the same way, but there are things that I can watch and do for hours that I know that other people are not interested in necessarily. And that concept, I think, plays more into the obsession kind of thing, you know. Yeah.
So could it be taking part of your question and maybe applying it to some of my obsession?
Yeah.
Would that, Terry, do you think that resonates in any way?
I'm not sure I have a response.
Yeah, I hear you.
I think there's just so many, so many different ideas in the room right now, and instead of a process of convergence, we're just diverging more. Like the notion of obsession is a new notion right now, and it's like, it's almost like it hijacked the conversation when there were already a lot of things in the room. I mean, not saying that it's a bad one at all, but I'm just like, I'm struggling.
There's a ghost.
Maybe there's a different one.
Yeah, that area right there is very.
That's just weird.
The Bermuda Triangle.
Some bad something happening over there. Yeah,
Felix.
so I'm just struggling to.
Yeah, so how, okay.
My tendency is try and make connections, so I'm still like, how do I make the connections between all of these things?
To me, I wasn't introducing anything new by saying obsessive. I was just trying to refine the assignment. So I thought Sandeep suggested that we all listen to an audio score. So I was just adding more work to that. Like not only improvise to an audio score, but also research some aspect of where it came from.
I like that idea. I think also, well, that I have the same feeling, but I feel like I want to embrace it, which comes back to me saying, like, if there's 4 movements, let's just make them really different, you know. So we have, let's do a piece about the glaciers and layering and stuff, and that's one thing, and then a piece about something, I don't know. This is what's to define. I think we just need like a top 4 ideas. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
I mean, I totally, I get it. I agree, but I'm kind of, I just want to see it on paper. Like, there's gonna be 4 things or 3, because we're thinking 20 minutes per artist, or
I'm not.
3 might be I don't know, but
20
just
minutes for Deborah. That's what.
It has to be at least 20 minutes, cause like money.
Yeah. And I think that the because like if we would just go like blank slate, let's talk just about the SoCal things. I have other things to say, but I think that's fine, and it doesn't negate any discussion about that we're having about micro, macro. Like I really love that, and I love the first things we did on the first day. And I don't know. I think if we want to come out of here and be like, okay, this, I don't know. For me, it's that. But unless everyone is more like, let's do one long piece about one thing.
Well, I think. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. Go on.
You're the only artist I think that we've seen so much work from. Like most of I think what's been presented to us from people's like bodies of works have been single kind of things, and whereas I can already, like, everyone here can reference at least 4 of your works, and I think that really speaks to that format too, because there's again there's so much, right? And to kind of hone it in onto 4 different things would be, I think, a better focusing for us. I feel. But sorry, what were you saying?
Could we come back to a basic idea? I think that at this point, of course, layers will arrive by themselves, because that is what happened now in this conversation. There were layers and layers, and as you said, Thierry, there was new ideas that made the conversation a little wide. And maybe if we come back to something basic after, we can imagine that layers will come by itself, just thinking about a way we can do things. But we can also separate, but we have to take a decision for to start, just to start something.
Let us maybe say what the 4 works are that everybody has in mind. So we have the glacier piece in some way, the glacier project. We have the cow project. We have, which other projects are
Birds.
important to you? The bird project. And number 4.
Auction. I would.
That's cows.
Auction.
Yeah.
Is the auctioneer the cows? Because I felt like
Yeah.
Yes, part of the cows.
I
It's
felt
part
like-
of that series.
Yeah, but I think in terms of like the 4 movements, we were talking about using the recording of it, and that's something quite different than the SOCAN registration of
Yeah, but
Deborah.
I was just trying to get hold of the 4 projects that Jess had mentioned.
Yeah, I don't know, I like the idea also of the bees, honey, the hives, we haven't seen anything, but you talked
No,
about it a
yeah,
little
but
bit.
that's one that's started
Mm.
now. That was the one that started.
So there are these 4 projects now. Do they translate into movements one by one, or are they layered, or what? That's the question. I would maybe begin by something that's already the most concrete thing, which is the SOCAN thing. So let us just briefly brainstorm how to present that. What would be a good presentation for this? And is this already done? Is this aspect already totally finished, presentable? Or does it need some kind of extra act or action or twist that we need to give to it before it can be presented? So let's start only with this first, and then look at all these other things too, how we can
You have to make a printed program.